Then I get into how much I kept at the end of the month, because that's always very important to me. It doesn't matter how much you make, it only matters how much you keep. So those keeping dollars, I like to see that be at least 10% of what I made the previous month. So those keeping monies, that's the dollars that I really start to take and I allocate towards my policy premiums. That's how Dad, when he was teaching it to us kids, he says, guys, I want you to imagine this policy just as if it's your glorified savings account. It's just your savings account and it's got a death benefit attached to it. And so that's how my mind is trained and why I don't ever get fearful when my policy premium comes due, because I've been trained at such a young age that my premiums are just my deposits into my own private savings account, okay? Hello, Money Multipliers. Welcome back to another episode of the Money Multiplier podcast. I'm your host, Hannah Kesler, and we asked ourselves, do our dollars make sense? So, hey, y'all. So, I'm very excited to be back on the mic and recording. Hopefully, you've been enjoying this first month of the season back at new episodes coming from this channel. So, I upload every Tuesdays on all podcast platforms and then also the Money Multiplier YouTube channel as well. But hello, welcome back. In today's episode, I really want to get into how parents and kids can build wealth together. So this kind of ties into the whole reason why I'm literally in this location right now. I'm coming to you from St. Louis, specifically Maryland Heights, Missouri. So just a town right outside of downtown St. Louis. And what's funny is actually, this is where I was born at, this city right here. So I always say I was born in St. Louis, but it's technically Maryland Heights. And I actually drove by yesterday the house that I was living in until I was about like 3 years old, 3 or 5, I think is when we moved to Olathe, Kansas, and where Mom and Dad really wanted to settle down and start up the chiropractic offices, because Dad actually graduated from Logan Chiropractic College just right here in St. Louis. So, you know, actually they met out here too, but that's a story for another time. But before we get into it, you know, I am here because I have some TV appearances tomorrow. I have 2 segments on a station, KTVMO. I should really nail that down before I go into the studio tomorrow. But actually it's a NBC station, and they want me on 2 of their different programs. So one is just going to be like a 5-minute segment. The other one's going to be like an hour long, almost like live podcast recording together, myself and the producer. And then after that, then I'm going to head over to Lake of the Ozarks and spend some time with Mom and Pops, because it's their birthday month. And honestly, September is like the best time to be here in the Midwest, specifically Lake of the Ozarks, because like all the kids go back to school. You know, nobody's out on the lake, so it's very calm waters. And it's kind of nice. You kind of feel like you're just there by yourself and you get the whole lake to yourself. So I'm going to do that. Going to drive over tomorrow from here. It's about a 2-hour drive. And then just hang out for a little bit, because I've been a little go. You know, y'all, you can also check out my adventures of what I've been doing if you go over to the Hannah Kesler YouTube channel. Hannah spelled the same ways forwards and backwards, Kesler with 1 S. And you can see some of my adventures that I've been on. I've been posting vlogs every month and kind of filming and documenting what I've been doing over the course of that month. So that's been pretty cool. But, you know, here in the Kesler family, really how I became so successful just in my monetary life is really from Mom and Dad starting at a young age to teaching myself and my brothers how money actually works. And really, when we started getting introduced to money, it was when Mom, essentially more, she needed help around the house. she was working. She was running the billing department for the chiropractic offices and just other doctors. And, Dad was going in Monday through Saturday treating patients, whether it was at the Olathe office or he'd drive an hour south down to Ottawa, Kansas, and treat patients there. So Mom says, hey, kids, I need some help with some chores around the house. I need help with dishes and laundry. So if you guys help me, I will pay you guys an allowance of $7 a week. And so how it first started off is my brother and I, Zach, we would switch off week by week. 1 week I would do the laundry, he would do the dishes, and then switch it. I would do the dishes, he would do the laundry that week. And then it actually came to a point where I came to Zach and I was like, you know what, Zach, I hate doing dishes. And he goes, you know what, Hannah, I hate doing laundry. And I said, perfect. So you go do the dishes, I'll stick with the laundry, and then we will just keep it as is. And then what Mom would do is on her chore chart, she would pay us allowance of $7 a week. And she would pay us that in cash, so $5 bill and 2 ones. And what she would teach us then is this 3-cup system: the save, the spend, the give. Because I grew up in the Catholic Church, so every Sunday we go over to Prince of Peace, which was our church in Olathe, and we go to Mass. And every week the basket would get passed around the pews. They're called pews, right? You guys heard my story. We're getting back into church, okay? but it get passed around to the different pews, like of people sitting there, and then that's when we would donate to the church every Sunday. So what Mom taught us is that we should be, of what we make, we should be keeping 50% of it. So 50% went into our save bucket. Then we would put 40% into our spend bucket. So if I wanted to go, I remember I loved like J14 magazines, so at Price Chopper, the grocery store, I'd always go buy those. Or, if I want to go and get a Starbucks, because at Price Chopper, they had the Starbucks inside too. I remember growing up, that's where all of my friends and I would go hang out at. We thought we were so cool, getting our little frappuccino, just hanging out inside Starbucks, chit-chatting, taking pictures on our little slide phones. I remember having like the slide-up phone. Probably different than like my demographic, who's like twice my age, 3 times my age, and how y'all grew up, right? But then I would take that 40% of what I made and I'll put it into my spend bucket. And then the 10%, that was my give bucket. And then Mom would make sure that we would take our cash with us, and she'd put it in an envelope every single week, and we'd take it, we sit during Mass, and then when the basket got passed around, we put the money inside of there. So creating those habits very, very early on has really stuck with me through the course of my life, because I've really mastered how to be disciplined with my money. I was kind of thinking about this earlier this morning. I had one of those lazy mornings because it's a Sunday as I'm recording this, and I was like, oh, I just don't want to get up right now, I just wanted to lay in bed. So I did. I was just laying in my hotel bed for a little bit, and then I kind of got on my computer, started doing stuff, and I'm starting to work on the Denver mastermind presentations that I'm putting together. And speaking of Denver, y'all, just pause right here. If you've been listening to me talk about building wealth for your family and you're ready to take it to the next level, you should really join us in Denver for the Money Multiplier Mastermind 2025. It's October 9th to the 11th. So, literally we're less than a week and a half away. And this isn't just another conference, because trust me, I go to a lot of conferences. I know what y'all want and what you guys don't want, okay? But it's really a hands-on event where you'll learn how to implement infinite banking deeper than what you have, or if you haven't even started your journey, where should I be starting with all of this? And then it's also a place just to network with other wealth builders and create a plan to thrive during these uncertain times. Because I was just in Gary, Indiana. I know how y'all are thinking right now. It's, it's kind of getting back to like a balanced market, specifically with real estate, which is great. But, I know people are gung-ho about the Fed dropping rates and different things. So that's another segment I want to go through at the mastermind is we're going to do a live what now, what's next big update. And listen, this event is only a week and a half away, and so seats are literally almost gone. So if you've been thinking about it, I'm telling you right now, I'm not going to do one next year. Next year, I'm kind of rearranging my life, prioritizing some things I would like to do next year. So I'm not going to do another mastermind next year. And if you've been really thinking about it, I would suggest getting there and putting your butt in the chair on October 9th or 10th, depending if you're a GA or VIP ticket holder. So go grab your tickets. You can go to themoneymultiplier.com/mastermind 2025. And hey, here's a little promo code for you. If you use the word banker, 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 as the checkout, it'll give you 15% off a ticket. So I hope to see y'all there. But getting back to it, why I kind of was thinking about the mastermind is because it's really all about your mindset and the experiences that craft your habits of what you're doing now throughout your life, how you think, how you act, how you operate, and I kind of really went deep down this rabbit hole of just mindset, and you got to make sure that your mindset is in check with each other, because I know a lot of people who, they're great people, but sometimes they just feel like they're not worthy to understand money or to even have money because, maybe their parents were talking down on it. They didn't understand that it was a tool and that it was just a stressor in their life. So it was always a negative subject for them. And then that carries them through adulthood. And then when they get money, it's like they just want to spend it all away because they're like, oh, this is bad. This has bad juju. I just want to get rid of it, right? So it really got me thinking about how we think and how we behave, and almost the psychology around money really is an outcome to how you treat it. I always say you got to respect and treat your money with respect, because if you don't, it's going to go and fly out the door to other people who understand it and actually do treat it with respect.
Hey, Money Multipliers, just real quick. I know times are crazy right now. We're in very uncertain times, and that's why we need to come together and thrive as a community. So coming up, Denver, Colorado, October 9, 10, and 11, the Money Multiplier team, we're going to be out there hosting a live mastermind for you. My folks who have policies, want to build and strategize on the empire that you have. And for my dreamers who you haven't started your infinite banking journey yet, but you want to connect and be with the like-minded people so you know you're on that correct and right direction. So I want to see you down there. So myself, my dad, Brent Kesler, Chris Noggle, we're all going to be together in the one location. So check the link out down below for more information, or you can visit themoneymultiplier.com/mastermind 2025. I'll see y'all in Denver.
So anyways, now that I'm thinking about it, I don't know how I got off on that little tangent. Welcome to Hannah's ADD world. But as I mentioned, I'm here in St. Louis, and I've been doing a segment on 5 tips of how to talk to your kids about money. And oh my gosh, these producers love it, because let me tell you, kids, money, cha-ching, you're in, all right? You're in. They want that segment, right? So I want to give y'all my 5 tips of how to talk to your kids about money. A question I get a lot is, how young is too young? When should I start incorporating this? And in my opinion, I think it should be the time when they literally start talking. I know Chris Noggle, with Vivi, he does this in a manner of like using her toys and understanding the value of toys, because that's really all money is. Money is just a means of exchange, an exchange of value, how much somebody is willing to give you for that item or the service, right? So I want to get into these 5 tips that I've really learned as a child that has been taking me through adulthood, and what mom and dad would do with us kids sitting around the dinner table together. So number 1, You need to start early and integrate money into daily life. Discuss how you make it, where it goes, and how you decide to spend it. So with your kids, they need to understand, well, where is mom going to every single day? You know, what is their job? What are they doing, right? So understand what you guys do. Your kids are really watching you. And even if you don't think that they're watching or listening to you, I'm telling you that they are. So we need to start there. Start early and integrate money into daily life. Number 2, encourage savings and budgeting. So give your kids an allowance and tie it to chores. Number 3, focus on values and responsible spending, my 3-cup system, right? So discuss with your kids the differences between needs and wants, and then help them prioritize a need over a want. Here's what I do. Even in my adulthood, I love to shop, okay? I love clothes, all right? At one point in my life, I wanted to be a fashion designer. Still am, still gonna be. But we're just building up resources before we get there. But when I'm shopping online, I like put things within the cart, and then I give myself a full 24 or even 48 hour window to process it. And if I'm still thinking about that item, then that's when I'll go and click the buy button. But if it's just like an impulse thing, I'm not going to go back and purchase it, right? So I actually save the link in my notes app, and then I'll go back if I'm still thinking about it. So that's number 3. Number 4, encourage questions in open communication. So what I mean by that is discuss with them what they're going to be spending their allowance money on, or even how can they save and start planning for this next family trip, which is a perfect segue into number 5. Get them involved in the decision making. You know, let your kids participate in family decisions. And this could include the meal planning, the grocery shopping, or even saving and planning that next family vacation. So I kind of get into it a little bit as well within my new children's book, The Companion, How to Talk to Your Kids About Money. But you need to really start at the earliest that you can and start ingraining these habits. I'm telling you, it's going to carry them through life. There is a little spider on this table. Spiders kind of creep me out, I'll be honest. But I do love them. I know they're good for our planet. Okay, good. He's going the other way. So those are my 5 tips, okay? Now, something else that has carried me into adulthood as well is having the monthly family banking meetings. So me, myself, I'm a single gal, right? No kids, not married, have my 2 kitty cats. So I just sit down with myself because I am the head of my household, and I sit down on the first Wednesday of every month, and that's my designated time from 9 to 12. I have it blocked out on my calendar because I live and die by my calendar. But I sit down and I look over my financials of what happened the previous month. And I just look at the income that came in, and I do track the income. Okay, you know, like, and I compare it from last year's income. Where am I at? Am I still remaining the same? Am I up this month? Am I down this month? Especially being in a, you know, commission-based entrepreneur business world, right? It can always change. So I always track the income. Then specifically, I do get nitty-gritty into my expenses, how much I'm spending at Publix, how much I spend at Chewy for the cats, gasoline for my car, you know, the eating out expenses, get deep into my business expenses too. You know, I always want to keep track of that, make sure we're not overspending, right? So I get into the nitty-gritties of my expenses. And no, this stuff is not hard, right? It just takes time. It takes time, and it takes management of your money to really create that flow. But I'm telling you, it's just like a new habit. Hey, if I want to start incorporating going to the gym 3 times a week, it's a habit. I just got to start somewhere and then stay consistent with it. So that's my biggest plea and ask. I'll just stay consistent with this, okay? What I always think about is don't hit the arrival syndrome. I'm thinking about Nelson in the back of my head, you know, just with his laws and his principles. But stay consistent with it, get it locked in, and when you do start to create that flow, it becomes easier and easier month after month. I'm going to be sharing my own personal spreadsheet at the mastermind that I use to track my income, my expenses, and ultimately my net worth. And I just like to see and track how my net worth keeps growing month after month, year after year. So I'm going to be sharing that spreadsheet with y'all at the mastermind event. Then I get into how much I kept at the end of the month, because that's always very important to me. It doesn't matter how much you make, it only matters how much you keep. So those keeping dollars, I like to see that be at least 10% of what I made the previous month. So I want to just make sure I'm always keeping at least 10%. Some months I have good months where I'm keeping 40% of what I make, and sometimes it's like 10%. Sometimes it's been even less than 10%. Then I get a little in there and I'm like, okay, girl, we got to be a little bit more diligent on this, right? So those keeping monies, that's the dollars that I really start to take and I allocate towards my policy premiums. And that's just the foundation of my life. And that's how Dad, when he was teaching it to us kids, he says, guys, I want you to imagine this policy just as if it's your glorified savings account. It's just your savings account and it's got a death benefit attached to it. And so that's how my mind is trained and why I don't ever get fearful when my policy premium comes due, because I've been trained at such a young age that my premiums are just my deposits into my own private savings account, okay? And then I look at upcoming expenses, okay? Property tax bill, my IRS tax bill. Let's say I have a vacation that's coming up. I need to go and get new tires for my car or an oil change on my car. You know, I really start to plan ahead, because another quote from the great guy Brent Kesler, he says, a failure to plan is a plan to fail. So I always think into the future, like the next quarter of what are my upcoming expenses that I really need to be prepping for. Quarter, I'll even go out to 6 months, you know, and just kind of plan ahead. But again, here's like kind of my spirituality talking. Well, Hannah, why are you planning ahead? You know, you want to always be in the moment and live in the present. Yes, I do agree, but we also need to plan and make sure that we are setting ourselves up for when time occurs that we're going to need these dollars, so it doesn't cause extra stress and chaos to our life. But again, ADD brain. Okay, so then I start to look at what I need to plan for, which includes policy premium, y'all. Okay, a lot of y'all, you're like enrolled on annual premiums, and then your annual premium comes due and you're like, oh my gosh, I don't have this money, what am I gonna do? Y'all, if you're on an annual premium, please be prepping for it, please be planning for it. That's another large expense that I add into my calculations here, but I don't like the word expense. It's more so the pay myself first, right? Because anytime when I am paying myself first, I count that as line item number 1 underneath my expenses chart, okay, when I am looking over my monies every single month. And I really match it up, you know, like let's say your premium's $12,000 a year, pay yourself first, $1,000 a month. That's all you're doing. And hey, you can even save up that premium inside of your policy and take out the cash value when premium comes due and pay for your policy premium that way. That's always an option. So I do that month after month, and then I really start to see the savings, the growth, and I start to celebrate it, because when you start to track your stats and especially start reporting it to other people, you will start to see that grow. That's how I got to the status of being a millionaire by 24, and now I have this big lending portfolio out there. So really teaching kids wealth concepts early on truly does matter, because now you are really shifting and breaking the generational cycles of that financial literacy. So it all starts with your mind, because your mind triggers your behaviors, your movements, how you think, and you just need to start integrating that very, very early on. So I encourage you as a parent to lead by example, because the kids will copy what you do, not so much what you say. So lead by example and really take them on this journey with you. And infinite banking is so multi-generational. You know, parents to kids to grandparents can even structure these policies. Like if grandparents want to start one on a grandchild and this is going to be their 529 plan for the future, start doing that. Start treating this thing as a vehicle of the storage of your money. And it's a storage of your money. I'm thinking about Tom Olson this past weekend where he's always saying, hey, be a conduit, not a bucket. And really, I think the policies are both. They're a bucket of where you're storing things, putting things on pause, where you protect it, you keep it liquid, government's out of your hair, it grows tax-free. You still have accessibility to the cash, but what makes it so much more powerful is when you really put this process to work of using the cash values and controlling that banking function in your life. Because now you're just duplicating your money. When my money flows into the policy, it's almost like my dollar is having a twin brother, and then the twin brother is out here in the real world working for me, aka for my children's book, The Companion. My companion is out here working for me and holding down the fort while its twin brother is still inside my policy growing and compounding. I hope that makes sense. But anyways, it makes sense in my head. So where the generational aspect of it comes all into play is there's always going to be a death benefit, right? And death benefit is really why we even have cash value in the first place. That's a big segment I'm going to be talking about in the mastermind, because a lot of people get deep into IBC. It's always about cash value, cash value, cash value. But then we neglect the death benefit part of it, which I can understand being newcomers into this space or even new IBC practitioners. But we got to even understand like the mechanics of whole life and why the cash value is even possible, and why it's even possible is because of the death benefit. And when that time happens, it's not an if, it's a when I graduate from this planet and go home to Jesus, that death benefit will get paid out to my beneficiaries. And now hopefully we've equipped them with the mindset and the tools that when the death benefit money gets paid out to them specifically, or maybe to a trust and entity, it gets paid out lump sum tax free, that they will carry on this legacy, start more policies, give back, do more humanitarian work, more philanthropy work, and really keep building and treating this world more kindly and leaving it essentially better than how we found it. So that's my whole big vision with all of this. And when I do have children, because that's a big life update, I think Hannah Kesler does want to have kids, which is kind of scary. For the longest time, I was always that person that was like, I'm not going to have kids. I'm going to be the cool aunt. You know, if you, mom and dad, if you guys want to see grandchildren, you need to go talk to your other kid, Zach Kesler, because he's the white picket fence golden retriever and like hip baby on the hip standing in front of his driveway, right? That's him. But I think I do, and I'm going to really incorporate these tools that my parents taught me into their life so that who knows, who knows where this world's going to go. And I get it, we only really are guaranteed this present moment. But if I can just leave things better than how I found them, give people my knowledge up in here, give people my resources, my tools that has made me successful and live a better, more fulfilled life, I want to do it, So before I go here today, this is a reminder that wealth isn't just about dollars, it's about passing down knowledge, habits, and mindset that last for generations. So I hope you guys got a lot out of this episode. I know it sounds so basic, so easy, and in my opinion it is, but I think we need those constant reminders to shift our habits, shift our mindset, get back to the foundation, why we even do this, the purpose, and why it matters here. So I just really hope that this was very helpful for y'all. So wish me luck tomorrow. I'm excited. I got my 2 segments. Things have been going good, I'm kind of like, I guess, a third of my way through this month of travel. Again, you can catch all my travel episodes over on my Hannah Kesler YouTube channel. I'm going to go pick up my van literally so soon. So actually at the time of this episode airs, I'm going to already be in my new van. I'm going to do a whole episode on that too. Probably on both channels. But let me know what you want to hear. Seriously, I mean, I'm just here to provide y'all support, information. Honestly, you guys teach me things as well that I don't even think about. So I want y'all to just chime in, ask me some questions. If you need clarification on any of this stuff, please holler at your girl. You can always reach out to me, podcast at themoneymultiplier.com. Rate the podcast, leave it 5 stars, leave a comment if you're watching this on YouTube. And I will see y'all next week, and hopefully I'll see a lot of y'all in Denver too. So catch everyone next week on the new episode. Mwah. Bye, y'all. Look at my friend. I'm in this cute little park right now. Thank you, Money Multipliers, for tuning in to another episode. If you enjoyed this and you want to learn more about the infinite banking concept, click right here. This takes you to my powerful 90-minute presentation explaining in depth how, why, what is the infinite banking concept. I will see you next Tuesday. Catch all you Money Multipliers then.